Lutosławski had a summer house in Oslo, and he spent a lot of time during 30 years there. And he was very fond of Oslo, nature and the clean the air, and he came as much as he could, and his stepson and wife was also living there. I even had him for dinner at my home, and I got to know him, and he was a very refined person, very educated, like a noble person, taught a wonderful language. Very distant in his approach, and like a noble character, and it was very charming the way he acted like that. And I remember I also went to his premiere of his piece for soprano, the Shortfall, in London, in Albert Hall. And this was written for a Norwegian soprano, Solveig Ringbotn, which coincidentally come from the same place as me, exactly the same place, just outside Oslo. So I was there at the premiere. I think he conducted himself, and it was a fine experience, probably 91 in Albert Hall. And I also conducted quite a few of his pieces myself. The Second Symphony, Concerto for Orchestra, a couple of more pieces, and he made a great impression. Also 2 years ago I was in Paris and listened to Esa-Pekka Salonen perform his Fourth Symphony, which in my opinion maybe his best work. It's a stational piece. It grasps the audience so nicely, and people are reacting to it all the time, and even young people. The hall was full of young people, and it was like being in a rock concert. It was the National Radio Orchestra, and I was amazed about the reaction that his Fourth Symphony had on young people, and the orchestra musicians also. It was great to see that he's appreciated everywhere, and that his music is understood, and it's going to live for a long time. He's played a lot everywhere, and also in Norway, and the festivals are performing him, and also the great his choir works or the big or symphonic works are performed. So I would say he's one of the most performed second part of the 20th century composers, probably, if you take away like Shostakovich. You don't have a feeling of this as modern music today. When it came, when I heard it the first time back in the 70s, we were a little bit shocked about the sort of the 12-tone and the aleatory, the things like randomness in his music, which at one point happened, one point didn't happen. And this was sort of surprising to us. And a lot of composers, my age and older in Norway, have influence from him, from studying also with him directly or being in presence of him. You don't question the composer. He knows his music. He was very organized, very fine, not very many emotions. He was very clear and very, very clear technique. And it just, he made the musicians do what he wanted. And he could do it because it was his music, and they all respected him very much. It was a great pleasure watching him and seeing how he controlled his own creation. Well, all conductors conduct the pieces in their own way. Fortunately, I managed to be able to sit with him and ask him about the Second Symphony a little bit. So sort of, I felt closer to this after him explaining me, don't bother about that, that will happen. Yes, if you do this, this will happen. And they will stop there, given time. This is very interesting for conductors being able to talk to the composer about it. And I had the chance to do that. And you know, it was also fun. He spoke wonderful English. He had excellent French. And at my house, they spoke, of course, with my wife Polish, and he had also, I could hear a very educated Polish language. I don't speak Polish. I understand a lot, but since my home has been spoken Polish a long time. But still hearing his beautiful language and so refined personality. Well, mostly about the Norwegian nature, which he loved, and also the Norwegian people, which he felt were very warm, not bothering anybody, leaving people alone, respectful, and he sort of liked that. And also, what he especially said that he was so found around late 80s that the young composers started to understand his music very well. He especially told about Terje Mikkelsen, who is a good friend of mine, and how he grasped his music. And it was so interesting for him to see the new generation coming up and performing his music in their own interpretation. So he talked a lot about that, how he found that interesting, that he didn't have to explain so much anymore. People were used to reading his information on the front page, used to the notation, how it did, and suddenly they transformed his music without him having to control it or having to advise anymore. I had a present evening at my house. I had the possibility to talk with him private, and it's always fun to talk. Well, not fun, it's the wrong word. It's interesting and very rewarding to be able to ask small questions about problems you have with this music or how to discover in a better way. And he was so brilliant in his mind. He could pinpoint immediately. So a fast brain and very honorable person.